Tuesday. Bam, 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 bam. We have officially made it to season 4, episode 12. Bad to the bone. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Bad. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Bad to the bone. Bad. Bad. Bad to the bone. Am I the only one that was feeling that way? Like, I was really feeling like bad to the bone. Like, I really appreciated that. All right. So, I am officially, I just checked it here. Now I can see myself. I know that I'm on here. I'm on. I'm on. Okay. All right. Bad to the bone. Bad. Bad. Who comes up with these titles? Who comes up with the titles for the episode? I'm so curious. Like, I'm so curious. All right, y'all. I'm not gonna waste any of your time. Next level chef, we are here in queer. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Season 4, episode 12, Bad to the Bone. We have officially made it to our top 6, where all of our contestants have a 1 in 3 chance of making it to that finale. Next week, we'll end up in the semi-finales, which that means we will lose 2 that will go on into our finale. So, a little bit about me. The best way to support the channel, or the best way to support me, is to find any of these properties and just support them. So, these are my properties: Dear Showrunners, Honestly Sis, and Honestly Sis the podcast. Honestly Sis the podcast can be found here on YouTube, or it can also be found on anywhere you listen to podcasts. Make sure you check that out. We just recently restarted up our season 1. I'm a writer, author by heart, so I was like doing a lot of editing, and that kind of messed up the flow of the Honestly Sis season, but we are back going. And make sure you check out Dear Showrunners. I do have a YouTube channel by that name as well, but that's also going to be able to be on the podcast, because all of these next level chef reviews are going to get switched over to Dear Showrunners, because I do want to find a way to just separate my TV reviews and my movie reviews from all of my activation and healing stuff that I'm doing over at Honestly Sis. So the best way to support me or support the channel is to like, comment, or subscribe. And the best way to support me is to go to www.honestlysis.com, join our mailing list. That way you don't have to worry about if you're subscribed to the right YouTube channel or anything like that. On the mailing list, you will get an overview of when I'm going live that week, what you can expect for me to cover, and you may even be able to be a part of some of these shows. So make sure that you join that mailing list. Next up, all about our mentors, our beautiful mentors: Chef Nyesha, Arrington, Gordan Ramsay, and Richard Blais. Really dry. I was working on my Ramsay impression, y'all. Do y'all think that I'm doing better? All right, so this week our challenge is all about bad to the bone. And bad to the bone is, of course, going to be a bone in challenge. And as we start this challenge and we're talking about it, the mentor says that cooking with the bone is and with the bone in is one of the most challenging ways to cook meat, because sometimes you can overcook it because of that bone, or undercook it. And so they say that this is truly the purest form of cooking. And also Ramsay talked about how there's just a certain type of taste that you get with bone in meat, that you just can't get from bone out. um, so the most important thing here is, even though we're going to have our meats and we're going to be, grilling them, or whatever we're going to be doing our protein, the most important thing is with cooking with bone is making sure, just as much as you have your cook time, make sure that you have proper time to let that meat rest. I don't know about you, but because I watch Gordon Ramsay so much, like when I have a steak, I don't even know if half the time the steak don't even have a bone in it, but I'm just always just so conscious of, like, let my meat rest before I go ahead and cut it. Now, before we start this competition, we do have Megan, who has her time token, and she has to go ahead and decide if she is going to keep the time token for herself, or is she going to give it away, or is she going to use it against one of her other, contestants. And Megan decided to keep it to herself. She says in her confessional that she really thought about, using it on Beatrice, because she went after her old teammate. And I'm kind of glad that she didn't do that, because I don't know if Austin would have ever done that for her. And so we are setting up this challenge. We, of course, have in the top kitchen, we have Megan and we also have Austin. And so that's the first time Team Blais up there minus Brandon. Then in the middle kitchen, we have with Chef Arrington, we have Beatrice and Ryan, and then down in the basement we have Chef Gordan with Bobby and Brandon. So let's talk about this grab. And so first, as we're starting to talk about this competition, Brandon, the first thing he does when he gets into the basement is grab a pressure cooker because he knows that because this protein has to be cooked very well, he wants to go ahead and set himself up for success. Meanwhile, Bobby said he never cooked with a pressure cooker and he doesn't want this to be his first time using one. Beatrice talks about this being their last opportunity before the semifinal, that they really want to prove themselves. Ryan talked about how he really loves Nyesha energy and how she is always straight to the point, which I'm kind of glad he said that because I really thought that Ryan did not fuck with Nyesha and she thought that she was kind of like a hard ass, but he talked about how he liked that. He liked that mentality and it reminded him of home. Blais, he says, is the first time that he'll ever be able to say Team Blais at the top. But he is just, of course, asking them, what type of dishes are they looking for? Uh, Austin said that it's going to be really hard for him to pass up a tomahawk steak, and Megan tells him let that be somebody else challenge it, somebody else challenge. So Richard said that they have the best equipment, the best food, and of course the best mentor. And so Megan, the first thing that she sees is the pork ribs, and she knows that that's going to take a really really long time to cook. What the fuck? I'm so sorry. Like somebody just started like drilling stuff out of nowhere. Anyways, so the first thing that she saw was a pork rib, and she knew that that was going to take a really long time to cook. And so instead, she gets this venison rack. Austin, he was trying so hard not to grab that tomahawk, and instead he ended up grabbing the veal chop. He goes ahead and pair that veal chop with some spring vegetables, and he said it'll take him about 20 minutes to cook the meat, so he'll probably need 10 minutes to rest. I really love how he had a plan and he knew exactly how much time he needed for that protein. When we get down to the middle level, Ryan is very excited to get a filet mignon. He says that he has cooked plenty of filet mignons in his past before. And so he thought that this would be, a no-brainer. Beatrice decides to do a porterhouse steak, and again, because she doesn't want to just stay in her comfort zone, she's really going to be going after some Latin and Mexican. So I guess it's Mexican flavors. Are you serious? I'm recording. Shit. I'm so sorry. Like, I've been literally sitting here all afternoon, ain't heard no sound, and the minute I start recording, all of a sudden somebody want to fix on some shit. Like, are you serious? Where was I? Okay, back to the grab. And so Ryan grabs this filet mignon, Beatrice grabs the steak, and because she really want to like challenge herself, she is thinking about sticking to Latin flavors, which I'm like, so is Mexican flavors not Mexican flavors? Are they called Latin flavors instead? Somebody comment down below because I clearly have been saying that wrong the whole time. Literally, both Ryan and Beatrice, they see the porter, they saw the tomahawk, and they was like, nope, that's going right down into the basement. And the reason why everybody is so scared and intimidated to use this tomahawk steak is because they know, like, since it's such a big piece of meat, that they're going to need like equally as much time as you need to cook that meat. You're going to need equal time to rest the meat as well. And so nobody wants to come up with that challenge. And so down into the basement, that tomahawk goes, and that's the very first thing that Brandon grabs, and he calls everybody upstairs dumbasses. Bobby ends up grabbing the ribs, which he's not really excited about. He talks about how this competition is literally up for, like, stacked for him to fail. He does not have any experience in cooking with the pressure cooker, but thankfully Brandon does just hand him over that pressure cooker because he realized that he's not going to need it because he needs to focus on his steak. And so we go throughout the competition, and everybody is doing such a good job on their dish. It seems like Megan from the top level When Blais talked to her about how she's going to cook her meat, she had a very clear plan. She was going to cut them in half. She separated all her bones off, and then she cooked the meat. Whereas, are you serious? Jesus. Why? Like, why? I literally just started cutting. Hold on. I may have to end this. 1 second. Let me go see something. Is this in the hallway? What's happening? Oh, it's out here. Okay. Hi. I'm sorry. I thought you was upstairs. It's okay. Do you know how much longer you would be? Or are you done already?
No, no, no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead. Just a quick mo drill.
Yeah. Okay. It's only because I'm like recording. I'm like, what is going on? But okay. Thank you. What you doing in the bed? You get your butt in the bed. All right. Okay, y'all. This is, the downsides of living into an apartment. My neighbor across the hall has just moved out. And so, since she moved out, they need to redo her locks on her door. And so, that's what y'all are hearing. I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to like yell at him, but he's just doing his job. So hopefully he's like finishing up. So hopefully that won't be too bad. So back to the preparation. So Megan has decided that she's going to cut her porterhouse steak. I mean, not porterhouse steak. She's going to cut her Weissen rack in half, or just cut off all the bones and then cook it that way. Austin, he talks about how everything is in its competition, and he doesn't know if he's climbing up the stairs or if he's falling into an abyss. He says that all he has waiting for him back home is his wife and a cute dog. Um, and it is a wife and a cute dog. Nyesha, she talks about she loves how Ryan like carries himself in the how he carries himself in the competition. Um, Blais tell, oh yeah, to how they carry themselves in the competition. And so mid round drop, we end up having flambe, which at first I wasn't really sure like what is a flambe. At first I thought it was like something that they actually had to like set on fire in front of the judges, but it just means that you have to have, I guess, like that flambe taste to your meals, because outside of Megan, nobody really talked about like what they flambe addings or toppings was. The adding or toppings of. But that was their mid round drop. Then as they were like finishing up with 10 minutes to go, the judges was like, "Oh, y'all look like y'all have everything down packed, like y'all know what y'all are doing." And so the judges end up leaving and going to the other floors. And I actually really like this. This is something I don't remember them doing at all. Like Ryan even made a joke like, "Can they do this?" But I love because like all of the judges just left and they all ended up on the same floor, and they were just literally looking at all of the contestants' food, doing last minute prepping the checking the temperature, asking them questions about how they're supposed to prepare it. And Megan said like you could just really feel how invested the judges are for each contestant. And I also agree, like regardless of the teams, like you can still tell that like these judges want these chefs to be the best that they could be. Like Nyesha, the way that she talks to Megan, she like, you may not be on my team, but you can just feel that energy, and them bonding over this late summer whatever the fuck is a late summer meal. But you can really feel that energy of the chefs really rooting for these contestants and really wanting the best for them. Bobby was really worried about his ribs because he had to cook blind. And so he kind of just had to put his ribs in a pressure cooker for 20 minutes and just completely forget about them and just hope and pray that by the end of that time, he literally looked at it with 3 minutes to go. Like he had to just forget about his meat. And thankfully, it actually all ended up working out. And so that's pretty much what happened. Another thing just to point out, when Blais went down to talk to Ryan, Nyesha was like, "You got a salty palate, bro." They tried to tell him that again. His mushroom sauce was a little bit too salty. Gordon told him to reduce or take some of it out and then add cream, but I feel like Ryan just added the cream, so it really didn't cut all of that saltiness out. And then Blais, Ryan was talking about blending up the vegetables, and Blais said, "I don't think that you should blend it." He liked that texture, and I think that Ryan was thinking about blending them because Nyesha kept telling him like these seem very very basic. So I think that's why Brian was going that route. So let's go ahead and get into some of these dishes. Well, for the top level, we have Blais. The picture that's shown is actually Megan pork of crusted panko. Excuse me, let me say this right. She had a panko crusted venison rack that was flambéed with a whiskey sauce that was inspired by all of her hunting trips. One thing that was I thought that was very interesting is that Megan talked about how her family has been literally cooking and going to the same to the same hunting grounds for I think what she said like 50 something years, like something crazy. And so this venison leg was really inspired by her times that her and her family, they go off and go hunting. And I just thought that that was interesting because at least for me, I don't really hear about like annual. I mean, I'm from Midwest, so I don't really hear about annual hunting trips, but I just thought that that was really cool. And I thought that she really had it in the bag because when she was talking to Blais about how she was going to cut it and why she was doing it and, her whole purpose of the meal, she did seem very, very confident. But what we end up finding out is that because she cut the rack, they end up getting three different temperatures of meat. And so some was well done, some was raw, and other pieces was like over well done. Like one was perfect, one was well done, another was under, and because of that, ended up getting her in a little bit of trouble. Austin had this bone-in veal chop that he paired with some spring vegetables. They said that they wish that there was just a little bit more salt, not only on a little bit more salt on the veal chop, and they also talked about like how he was cutting the veal, and I guess because it's such a since it's such a fine piece of meat or protein, it really mattered how he cut it because if he cut it, if since he cut it in such thin slices, it end up drying out the meat, and it ended up drying out the meat. And so the judges told him that he should have cooked them in like a bigger slices. So it's just crazy. And Austin was freaking out. He's like, "Cause dang, like you can literally can make or break yourself, all depending on whether you cut the meat in or not, or whether you cooked it whole or not." Like I personally, I don't understand why she cut them that way, but I think because she was just so focused on like the fire and the forest and the hunting trip that maybe that's why she did it. But I would have just cooked that venison whole, and then cut it up and put it on the plate the way that she did. Next up, the level, we have Arrington. Was shown right here is a porterhouse steak paired with peach salsa and grilled peaches. Personally, this dish really reminded me of Natalie. Like I feel like Natalie made a dish that was very similar to this before. Um, uh, the challenging thing about this porterhouse steak is that you have two pieces of meat within that one steak, and so you have a fillet on one side of the bone and you have a strip of loin on the other side of the bone. And so she had to find a way to balance both of those temperatures and cook both pieces of meat perfectly, and she actually ended up doing that. But the only knock here is that Richard did not like her pairing the peaches with red meat. Like he just said that typically when he think of that, he thinks of pork, he thinks of fish. He's just like he didn't like red meat and peach salsa. So that is kind of what happened with Beatrice's dish. Ryan, he had a bone-in fillet with these roasted carrots and a creamy mushroom sauce. And they said that again, the problem with these competition with the bone in is that because of that bone, you may overcook your meat, and that's what ended up happening here with Ryan, along with that salty mushroom sauce. Ryan was really disappointed because he said that he makes this sauce all the time at home, and it just really hurt that he messed it up again. In our bottom level with Gordon, what picture shown right now is Bobby Beautiful pork ribs. With Brandon, Brandon made a tomahawk steak with truffle potatoes. One thing that I really loved is that, like, while he was cooking it, Gordon and Brandon was just like vibing, like, cause he had put his tomahawk on like this kind of a portable grill. And so Gordon was going over there and checking it, and then he put like this pan on it to kind of hold it down. And he was asking Brandon, like, okay, so what do you plan on doing next? Are you going to put it in the oven? And he's like, yeah, I'm definitely going to put it in the oven. And he said something about turning it to a 45-degree angle. And like they both started nerding out. And Gordon's like, yeah, I taught you that. Like that. It was just, you could tell that something beautiful was going to come out the basement kitchen because they were just vibing so well with one another. Um, it was just even like with Bobby and Brandon. I mean, mind you, a couple of weeks ago, Brandon was all on Bobby head, but like when Bobby was talking about his ribs, he's like, "Oh my god, I just hope that they're done, or what am I gonna do?" And Brandon was like, "No, they're gonna be done. They're gonna be great." And I just love how like Brandon really had Bobby back. Like he was, cheering her up. I'm cheering him up, talking about how they both were gonna get out the basement, and they both end up coming up with some beautiful dishes. Bobby made this rack of pork ribs that he served with a roasted oyster mushrooms. And those ribs were like this sticky, beautiful pomegranate glaze sauce. And Gordon said that he would literally after Gordon finished, he was like, he was like, like you knew that these were good. He's like, like he thought that they were just so good. And Aisha said that it felt like those ribs were being cooked for hours. And she was just so proud of Bobby. Let's go ahead to our judges debate. And so here in our judges debate, you can kind of see all 6 dishes shown. The dishes on the far side would be Megan and Austin's. The one in the middle, of course, would be Beatrice and Ryan's. And then off to the side, you have Brandon's tomahawk steak along with Bobby's pork ribs. Actually, I think it's mixed around a little bit. I think in the middle is Brandon pork steak. I'm sorry, in the middle is Brandon tomahawk steak and Bobby ribs, and then off to the side, side is the middle level kitchen with Beatrice salsa and Ryan bone and filet. And so when we talk about the judges debate for the top level, they talked about how the veal was just sliced way too thin to the point where they didn't even realize that what did it say really? I'm sorry, I couldn't read my handwriting. But they just said that the veal was chopped entirely way too thin. They also talked about Megan and her chopping up the rack, and I think Blais was trying to say like there was nothing wrong with her chopping the rack to cook it, but he was saying like I guess because of her I want to say like lack of education, but I guess like lack of culinary skills. Like I think that she maybe didn't cut them evenly, and that's why they end up cooking like a very weird way. For the middle level, they talked about that bone in filet being very disappointing. Gordon said that yeah, he said that bone in steak was just very disappointing. Richard also talked about those vegetables, and Nyesha said, yeah, it really left a lot to be desired. And then when they got to Beatrice's dish, Gordon and Nyesha were actually really for it. They really liked it. And Richard was just like, I don't like peaches with red meat. He's like, I just want to know that I can say that. And Nyesha's like, you need to stop being so old and grumpy and and move with the time. So I thought that that was cute. And then for the bottom level, they just talked about the porterhouse steak being perfection. And Nyesha pointed out that the pork ribs was actually the hardest protein to have. And so the winner is this week. Our top dish come from Brenda. And I want to say, like, our top 2 dishes come from Bobby and Brandon. And then Brandon ends up taking away the top dish. Like, I was doing his dance. I literally was like jumping and screaming. And Brandon always talks about how much he loves the basement. He was saying that, like the basement, the food's gonna always be good. The ceiling may be leaky, but he's always making magic in the basement, and he is. And the cutest thing that I thought he said is moving on up to a kitchen in the skies. I know that's right, Brandon. Is Brandon about to win this? Is Brandon gonna take it all, y'all? I don't know. He may. So for our elimination, we are having a whole fish elimination. And who ends up going down is Ryan. He goes down because of his, the salty mushroom dish, the overcooked meat. And he literally says, like, right when I was feeling the most comfortable, I end up in elimination. And maybe that is a part of the reason. Megan goes in. She goes all the way from the top to the bottom. Hate to see it. She's goes in for those three different temperatures of meat. And she called that. She kept calling it. Now she called the time soaking cursed before she even won it, and then when she had it, she said that it was cursed, and it ended up being a curse for her. So that, I mean, we'll get to our life lesson, but that just goes to show you that there's life and death in the power of the tongue. And so this entire elimination challenge is all about bone-in fish, so cooking a whole fish. So you have to cook that fish whole. You can make fillets or you can just cook it whole. And this elimination is like home chef versus a professional chef. And Megan talked about how she didn't want to be intimidated just because of somebody's title. And I agree, she shouldn't be. And so for this grab, the first thing that Ryan grabbed is Seambring, which I'm pretty sure he cooked with before. It's a fish. So I really was like, actually starting to feel a little bit nervous for Megan. But he ends up pairing the inside. He talks about how he can like really stuff the inside of the fish with like all of these good herbs. And so he does like lemon and thyme and rosemary and all of this stuff, and he tucks it all into the fish. Whereas Megan grabs this beautiful macro fish, which she says that she cooks with fish a lot, like at least once or twice a month, but she hasn't necessarily cooked with macro. I know personally, I want to challenge myself this summer to make more whole fish because whenever I go travel and they have that on the menu, like of course, like I've been to Jamaica and I had like the whole red snapper, or even there's this restaurant here in Detroit that is African theme and inspired, and they sell a whole snapper with the green sauce, and like I'm obsessed. I'm so obsessed with it. It's so yummy, so refreshing, and I would just love to, try it and challenge myself with that. And so, Megan ends up making this beautiful macro that she pairs with like some salsa and some tomatoes, and some bread, kind of making it like this late summer, by the fire meal. And Ryan kind of just keeps it basic. He does his sea bream, and he makes it with this tomato sauce, which I've never quite heard of a tomato sauce before. But when they taste it, the judges are not really feeling the pairing of them together. Like Richard said, you have to do a little bit too much work. It probably would have been better if he would have just put that tomato sauce on top, kind of how Megan did it. To kind of just help them along with the meal. They said that Ryan's fish was cooked perfectly, but it had the wrong fragrance. And so Gordon said for rosemary, you want to use like lamb and beef, not really fish, because it has such a strong flavor to it. That's something I've never heard before. I thought rosemary you could put that on anything, but clearly it did not. It did not go well on fish. And so at the end of this, we end up losing Ryan. And I was just, I mean, I was happy that Megan was able to pull it off. And I really think we end up losing Ryan. Now, while they were cooking this, we learned that Nyesha spent 2 years in a 2-star Michelin kitchen in their fish department. And so she got her ass handed to her. She knows everything about fish. And so she was telling Ryan, like, before the competition even started, like, be very gentle with your fish, be very, kind with your fish. And then when he was about to plate, he ended up, tearing off the fish tail. And I think that was just because he was just super nervous. And so by the time he got here, even though the fish had this beautiful, nice crust on it, that tail was all messed up. And I do think that kind of took away from his plating. Megan was running all over the place because, as you can see, she has a lot of components with her dish. She's fried the toast. She has some grilled zucchini on there. Brandon was telling her to blanch the zucchini first, and she's like, "I just want them grilled." I don't know if it would have made a difference or if it made, if it would have put her above, but she ended up coming out on top. I was happy to see her go. Sad to see Ryan. I was happy to see her stay. Sad to see Ryan go. But at the end of this, Gordon ended up saying that, he has restaurants in Boston, and since he has restaurants in Boston, he's gonna hook up with one of his, his head of his culinary, and he's gonna get Ryan in, and so that they can continue their relationship, continue what they've started. And he's like, just because, he's a young chef with a young family, he just wants to help him. And like, I was in tears. Like, I was like, I went from like cheering, being so happy for Brandon, to like literally being in tears for Ryan. And we know this happens every year. Gordon picked at least one person. Last year he had picked, I forgot the black guy name, but I wonder like what's going on with him. Like, I wonder how he's doing. But last year he picked the black guy that was over in Florida. And this year he has Ryan, and I'm just so excited to see where Ryan, ends up. Like, I hope one day we look up and Ryan has his own culinary show or maybe his own restaurant. I do wonder if Beatrice is like salty, like, oh, I thought that's gonna be me. But Beatrice probably still thinks she gonna win, so she probably don't even care. But beautiful, beautiful episode this week. I was totally obsessed. I loved it from beginning to end. It had all the highs and lows. Like, who knew that a cooking competition could be so intense? And that was also something that the chefs and Bobby and everybody was saying when it got down to the elimination challenge. Like, we're getting down to the wire. Everybody want this, and it feels very intense. And so this week, our life advice, I think I'm gonna take that. Like, I mean, we had a couple of things that got thrown out to us. We had, of course, when Blais was talking to Austin, all about like, when you're going after your dreams, you don't know if you are climbing up the stairs or falling into abyss. And he said that, I want to believe that you are, that you are climbing up the stairs. Of course, Nyesha always say, don't doubt yourself. And then Nyesha also said, fight for it like you want it. And I think that that's something that we all need to remember. We all need to keep in mind. I didn't finish it, but Carlos King has been doing these like soulful Sunday messages, and his last message was about being Delulu. And just knowing that, when you have an idea, you have to go at it, you have to go for it, and you have to give it all that you have. And sometimes when you're going after your dreams, it does not seem like it's all going to work out. It's not like this beautiful adventure of, everything just happening perfectly. Like, you can see the steps, you can see where you're going. Sometimes it do feel like you're falling into abyss. And instead of embracing that fall or thinking that you're going to fall, fight for it, and you'll rise to the top and climb and land where you need to be. So that would be my life advice this week. No mentor beef. Like, I really just feel like now that we're down to the wire, you can just really see like all of the chefs working together, all of the chefs really rooting for these contestants. But you can also tell that, the chefs still have their favorites. They still have their ones. Nyesha was rooting for Bobby to take that win. I love when Richard finally got back up with Austin and they were talking, and Richard was like, I missed you. And I know Austin was probably just like, oh. Like, Austin was deep down inside, like, just so proud of himself because his mentor told him that he missed him. I would be so interested to see. I also wonder, like, can Blais do this? Like, I want to know if Austin and Richard will continue their relationship regardless of if Austin wins this competition or not. I am curious if Blais can also do what Gordon has done for plenty, for other contestants, which says, hey, you may have not won this competition, but I do want you to come on, work in one of my kitchens so that we can keep this thing going. And so I'm really, really curious to see how things land between Austin and Richard, because I don't think I've ever seen Richard have such a bond with the contestants before. Prediction. So my prediction came true. It was actually like kind of a toss up because I didn't want to think that Brandon would end up in the bottom, which he didn't. My boo ended up winning. So shout out to him. But Ryan did end up leaving and going home. I didn't think that Megan would ever put herself in that predicament, but she made a rookie mistake. One thing that Nyesha talked about, and I want to highlight as well, is that I just love how Megan cooks with so much confidence and with so much, precision, as if she is a professional chef. And she definitely earned that spot in the top five. In our top five now, we have one home chef, one social media chef, and three professional chefs. And I'm rooting for. I am rooting for Brandon. I'm rooting for Brandon, and I'm rooting for Bobby, and I'm rooting for Megan. Oh my God, I can't have three winners, but that is who would be my ideal final three. Is that I would love to see Brandon. Okay, let me think about my top three, my final three for real. In an ideal world, I would love to see Brandon, Austin, and Megan in the top three. Or I would love to see Brandon, Bobby, and either Megan or Beatrice. Like I can give one or two up. I am curious if Beatrice gonna make it all the way or is she gonna sizzle out? Because these last two cooks, like she hasn't necessarily been on top, and so I'm curious to see how she will round it out. But who I think will be in the bottom two next week? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I just think we like at that point of the competition where it's really hard to say. I would like to see it be Beatrice and Austin, or Beatrice and Bobby come back. But who knows? But my top pick for my top three, one that I know will be in there no matter what, is Brandon. I'm predicting that Brandon is going to make it to the top three. Do not fucking disappoint me, Brandon. But see, that's the only thing. Brandon get in that top kitchen, and it's like for some reason he does not have that same like bottom kitchen mentality. So I don't know. I kind of feel like Brandon's gonna mess around and end up at the bottom. I think it's gonna be like Brandon and Austin fighting for that last spot. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I will say that this is probably one of my favorite top fives that they had in a long time. There's no only person that I probably wouldn't be happy with winning is Beatrice, and then even now at this point, I'm like, she's been around for so long. Who cares, you know? But we'll see. Let's see what's gonna happen next week. We will be back at it. It's like the second to last episode. We are almost nearing the end of this thing. Um, yeah, we're nearing the end of this. We'll have a episode next week, and then we'll have one more episode. uh make sure that you go check out www.honestlysis.com, because I will be moving my TV reviews over to Dear Showrunners. We're gonna get this out of this Honestly Sis space, and we're gonna see how things go from there. So please, please, please make sure that you go to www.honestlysis.com, join our mailing list, because the next series that we're going to be covering is going to be The Gilded Age. I need to get a start date for Big Brother, because I do know I want to cover Big Brother as well. So I don't know if it'll be The Gilded Age, Big Brother. Hopefully they do not overlap. But that's what's going next is The Gilded Age. I'll be doing some summaries for season one and season two. If you want that information, make sure that you are subscribed to the Honestly Sis newsletter list, or go find us on our Substack, because our Substack is linked to our Dear Showrunners page and our Dear Showrunners podcast. So you make sure you go get that information. All right. That is all the information I have for you guys. Please, 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 if you made it to the end of this message, go ahead and give me a green heart. Let me know that you are one of the loyal ones. Please drop down in the comment box. Who do you think is going to win? Did you agree with Ryan leaving this week? And who is your prediction to leave next week and your prediction to win it all? All right, y'all. Thank you so much for making my dreams come true. Now get out there and live your own. See you at the top, friends, and I'll see you next week for another episode. Bye.